أوكي، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. مرحبا بكم جميعا ومساء الخير عليكم. من مركز Certified Training Center. اليوم نحن سعيدين في تقديم ويبينار بيقدموا لنا إن شاء الله مستر تشار. عنده خبرة أكثر من 20 سنة في مجال التدقيق، في مجال الأغذية والمشروبات، وقام بعملية تدقيق لأكثر من 5,000 عملية تدقيق لمصانع وشركات مختلفة، من أشهر مصانع البيبسي. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today for the exciting and informative webinar. We are honored to have with us today Mr. Charl, highly experienced lead auditor with over 20 years of expertise in food and beverage standards. Mr. Charles has conducted numerous audits across the industry and have wealth knowledge on ensuring compliance, maintaining safety standard, and enhancing quality control process. Today's sessions will be provide valuable insight into the critical aspects of food and beverage safety, and we are confident that you will find the discussion both informative and engaging. Without further ado, we would like to welcome Mr. Charles to begin the session. The session, all of us will be muted till the end of the sessions. We can raise your hand, and if there is any questions, Mr. Charles will be very happy to answer your questions. And also this session will be recorded, and we will upload it into our YouTube channel after 2 or 3 days. Thank you so much, Mr. Charles, and we are very happy to have you.
Thank you, Anas. Thank you, Anas. Appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. And yes, thank you very much to Training Center, Certified Training Center, for having me here. And welcome to you guys for joining this webinar. My name is Charl Jooste. And Anas was kind enough to ask me to share a bit more insights about my journey, but particularly also a few other topics and aspects that we think we might be useful to all of you. So please share with me, and we'll try to make it as fun and interesting as possible. Okay, so just a brief introduction about myself. So I'm originally from Cape Town in South Africa. I put this ball of the earth on here so people sometimes they don't know where South Africa is. So it's right there at the tip of Africa. So right at the bottom, for those who don't know. I'm a qualified food technologist. I studied in Cape Town. I worked for about 10 years in the food industry in different roles before joining a company called AIB International. AIB International is an American company with a regional office in the UK. And I was fortunate enough while working for them for the last 15 to 16 years to be traveling around the world. So I visited many, many countries, probably like more than 35 countries around the world. I've audited various places, including most of the states in the USA. So I was fortunate enough to be able to travel a lot, too much if you ask me now, in those years. And then obviously gained a lot of insight and a lot of knowledge about how things go in different countries, not only in Africa, not only in Middle East, but also in Europe and Asia, and especially in the US. I'm currently the CEO and owner of FSQ Solutions based in UAE. So if you guys need any training or consulting or any second party audits, feel free to contact me as well. So that's just a brief introduction about myself. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, okay? Just some interesting fact that I want to share with you. I basically started my career, for those who know, in South Africa, there was this system called apartheid. So just as apartheid ended and Nelson Mandela became the first democratically elected president of South Africa, that's the time I started working. So prior to that, I was studying and obviously in school and all involved in the time pre South Africa, democratic South Africa. So the webinar of tonight, or what we're going to talk about, is mainly, a little bit of what audit experiences, of what I've seen in the industry, what I think can benefit. So this session is all about experience sharing. So just to ensure that people can see, okay, what can we benefit from? What can we learn from this? Some future trends, as well as global insights. And then last but not least, a couple of audit best practices that I think might help some of you in your journeys. I'm assuming we have some people on the call that is either auditors or that are working in the industry as quality assurance managers. Maybe we have someone who aspires to be an auditor. So yeah, if that is you, I hope you find this beneficial. Okay. There will be a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to ask questions then if you're unsure about anything. But I try to make the slides as interactive as possible. Okay, so before we get started, I do have a little bit of an icebreaker, and I want you to have a look at the following pictures, and then type in the chat, what do you see? Okay, you ready? Okay. Face, I got a few answers. Joan and Abdallah says a face. Yes. Mask. Someone says 96. Mask, a woman. Taisir. Hamza, face. Yeah. Joan also mentioned the word liar. Can you guys see the word liar? Face. Face and eyes with glasses. Afra, good. Rita, yes. Okay. If you just joined now, I'm just doing a bit of an icebreaker. So I want you to tell me, what do you see? We've decided to put everybody on mute for now. So if you want to know the answer, if you have the answer, please type it in, okay? Type it in the chat. If you can unmute yourself, then just say, okay? Ahmed says yes. Mohammed, Mr. Ta says face. Abbas says liar. Good. Yeah. Face, face. Good. I think most of you see the face, right? And do some of you see the word liar, obviously, okay? So yeah, there's a face. It looks like it's got glasses. And then there's the word liar. If you just tilt your head a little bit to the right, you can see the word liar coming down like that. Okay, next one. Ready? First one to type the answer gets a prize. Afra, Ramzi, says a lady. Abdallah, uh-huh. Ibtihar says a man with phonotech. Yes, with the saxophone. Yeah, okay. Rashid, woman face. Yes. And lady face. Uh-huh. Yeah. Lady face, Taisir. Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story, guys, while you some of you still thinking and looking at it. Usually when I do training and I present this, most of the guys, they see the lady face first. And then the ladies, they would see the guy who playing the saxophone first. So yeah, that's quite interesting. Pistol. Ibtihas sees a pistol. Maybe you're referring to the saxophone, but yeah. Boy face, lady face, and man saxophone. Abbas. Yes, good. Thank you for joining us, Sadiq Omar. Okay, so we're just doing, for those who join now, we're just doing a bit of a exercise here to see what you guys can see. And I want you to type it in the chat. Most of you got it right. Typing a man with saxophone and then also a face. All right, let's look at the next one. Now this one is a little bit more tricky, a little bit more harder. Yeah. If you can see the man's face in the coffee, it's this type, yes. Omar says, of course, saxophone, yes. Coffee beans and a man's face. Yeah, someone got the man's face. Good, good. So the man's face is actually right at the bottom, slightly to the left, okay? Right. Next up. Ahmed says a rabbit. Duck face. Yes. Kalda says duck. Ibtihar says duck. Muhammad, duck. Nihal, duck. Sohal, duck. Rashid, bird. Duck, yes. Rabbit, duck. Uh-huh. That's good. Rabbit, duck, left to right versus right to left. Usama, yes. And the funny thing is, guys, there's a little bit of psychology behind this kind of pictures. Eh? It all depends what you see first. If you saw, I think most of you saw the duck first, um, then you're right-brained, and then if you saw the rabbit, you left. So good. Rabbit. Aywa. Okay. I got one more picture. I got one more picture that I want to share with you guys. Taisir Musa says yes, a rabbit. Good. Okay, this one is a little bit easier. If you can find the giraffe, just type yes. Let's see who finds it first. Nihal, Hassan. Good. Good. Aywa. Yes. Yes. Tasneem also. Well done. Yeah, this one is quite easier. A little bit more easier than the coffee one, right? With the man's face. Okay. Now, usually I ask the people, why do I show you this? What do you think? But I want you to think in your mind, and if you can type it also, you can type the answer. But yeah, just for yourselves. Why do you think I showed you these pictures? Okay. Just keep that on the back, and then you can answer me later also. We can chat, put it in the chat as well. Basically, the reason why I show these pictures, yes, engagement, yes, we have different angles of views, yes. Somebody says we see things from different perspectives. Well done. Abdullah says to check the focusing. Yes. Yes, very good. Yes. Yep. I think some of you touched on it. Very good. Because when we audit, everybody has different perspective, right? So the auditor and the auditee will see things differently. And it's really important that we come together, not only as an auditor or auditee, but even amongst yourselves when you work in a factory and you work in a plant, that when you do your internal audits, that you really focus in and zoom on the issues and try to find those issues, and get consensus. That's really important, that you get consensus on what are the issues, and make agreement so that you can try to find the right corrective action for that. Okay. Now, a little bit about audit experiences that I want to share with you guys. I know sometimes it's really tough to decide which kind of audit system should we go for. Many companies struggle to decide, should we go for ISO, should we go for BRC, for FSSC? And these things can be confusing. A lot of times it's driven by either the company themselves, the top management, or it's driven by the ideas of the quality manager, what he or she thinks, or it's driven by the customers or the clients. And they say, no, we want you to have this kind of certification. Back in the day, I worked for a company and we had ISO and BRC just came out and we started implementing BRC, and we were really chuffed. We were excited. We were one of the first companies in South Africa and the world that had BRC certification. And I was working at the time for a company that manufactures raisins. And for those who don't know, raisins is basically dried grapes, right? So it's grapes that is put out in the sand, on cement slabs, out in the sun, dries out, then it's brought to the factory and you clean it and pack it. So we had this nice, beautiful factory, and we were exporting about 80% of our product to the world. And then we had this big client in Canada that said they want to buy from us. And they would probably basically take the whole lot, whole production that we had. But they had one request, that we should have AIB. And we were like, what is AIB? We have ISOs. We've got all the ISOs you can think of at the time. We have BRC also. And why does this guy want AIB? And he says, yeah, we want you to have AIB. So at that time, I learned about AIB as well, as an audit. And boy, was it an experience and a life-changing event for me myself. So yeah, quick question for you guys. What is the difference between audits and inspections? You can type your answers in the chat. You can type it short, sweet. If you don't need to type, you can type in your own words as well, right? You can type it in Arabic also. If you're not good with English, then Anas can translate for us. Audit needs time, yep. Muhammad says inspection after or during, yes. Good, we've got a lot of people joining as we speak. For those who have just or are busy joining us, welcome. We just went through a quick icebreaker, and we're just starting to touch on what is the differences between an audit and an inspection. Someone says audit is systematic, yes. Okay. Some great comments and suggestions. Abdallah says audit is systematic, inspection is surprisingly. Very good, Abdallah. There is no unplanned audit. Amna says audit is done against a certain criteria with agreed timing between the auditor and the auditee. Good, Amna. Nihal says audit for process and inspection for people. Okay. Good. We've got quite a few people joining us. So for those who just joined us, you can use the chat function and then you can just type in the answers for those questions that we're putting, okay? Ola says audit is services from third party. Tasneem says inspection is for products and services and audit is for a system. Okay. Inspection internal while audits external issue. Inspection is to know if the audit is applied. Somebody from expert center says audit is thorough examination of entire system while inspection examination of specific criteria of the work. Yes. Some really good answers coming out, guys. Yes. Hadia says audits are formal reviews of processes or records to ensure compliance with standards, often covering broader areas over time. Inspections are focused, on-site checks. Good, good. Okay, so for those who have just joined us, welcome to this webinar. So I'm sharing a bit of experience with you guys just to make sure that you probably get some more insight into what's happening in terms of auditing. All right, so thank you for those answers, everybody. I really appreciate that. So by definition, most of you touched on what is an audit. Yes, it's a systematic evaluation of programs against planned activities, and it focuses more on documentation, right? So we sometimes refer to it as a documentation review, whereas an inspection focuses on physical review. So it's what happens at a moment in time. And we like to call it a snapshot, right? It's a snapshot of what happens in time. Now, you do get audits that has both, right? And you do get inspections that also covers both. For example, the AIB audit is more of an inspection than it is an audit. So they do about 70% of physical inspection and about 30% of the time is spent on documentation. Now, the GFSI audits, they have also started to adapt or adopt the process of having more time on the floor, okay? So more time doing physical review to see what is actually happening and does that conform with the planned expectations, okay? So it's more to the view of about 50-50% of time. Now, that doesn't always happen. For those who have been audited by auditors from various countries, they can tell you that they've probably had auditors just spend most of the time in the office or in the boardroom somewhere and just typing away at documentation, right? Okay, but yeah, I thought I'd just share that with you guys just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Now, couple of differences between certification audits also. About 5 years ago, when I came to the UAE, I noticed that everybody was focused on ISO. Whereas in South Africa, where I come from, and what I've seen around the world, everybody has moved on from ISO. And they went into FSSC and they went into BRC, and as well as IFS and SQF in some other countries. But yeah, ISO 22000 in this particular example is a standard food safety management system standard from ISO itself. On its own, I think most of you know it's not GFSI approved, right? Because it doesn't fall under integrity program. So what does that mean? That means that anybody can implement ISO and can get certified against ISO, without any integrity issues. So I'm just having a look at some checks, messages. Audits in the process of checking and compliance has required inspection. Yes, good. So then you have audits like BRC, which is now BRCGS, and also FSSC 22000 in this case. These are examples of GFSI approved certification audits, right? Now, in simple terms, I used to tell the guys when I come to your site and they say, okay, we've got ISO 22000. I said, okay, well done. You've got at least a basic food safety management system. And now you're going for FSSC 22000 or for BRC. So you're stepping up, you're stepping up a bit because now you come to what is GFSI approved standards. And it's really, really right the top standards that is out there in the world right now. Now, GMP or PRP audits, like AIB inspections, so good manufacturing practices and prerequisite programs, for those who don't know, they are obviously, like I mentioned, more physical, okay? They are very detailed. They focus on the physical things that's happening in a plant or in a facility and really zoom in on those issues that can happen and can go wrong. And as I explained to you, many times auditors focus too much on the documentation and then they don't focus on what's happening on the floor. Because in reality, if you guys go and look and you can Google it up, you can research it, most of the product recalls and most of the food safety issues happening in the world right now is because of what went wrong on the floor. Okay? It's not about, for example, there wasn't a training procedure or there was a missing record of this or that. No, it's about what happens on the floor. Now, to give you some examples of what happens on the floor that can go wrong. And again, this is just a few examples because I've got so many over all these years. It's going to probably take a week to share all those pictures with you. But yeah, I thought I'd share a couple with you. What do we normally see? Poor storage practices. You go to a facility, you see stuff pushed and packed against the walls, mixed up, not properly segregated, not properly identified, tagged and labeled, and just overall poor storage practices. Then poor protective measures. Many times I go to a plant, I see doors being left open. It's like, open free for all. And then we also have covers, missing covers. Sometimes plants have covers over open bottles or open product, but there's some gaps in between, like in this example you can see here. And so on. These are just a few example, guys and ladies, that I wanted to share with you in terms of protective measures. Poor employee welfare areas, yes. Believe it, in today's age, we are now in 2024. We still get to see toilets like you see there on the left, and even worse. I've seen so much worse that I couldn't share those pictures here with you guys. Basic things like, people throwing their hair nets on the floor, not having proper lockers to store their PPE and the clothes, etc. Yeah. Floors, walls, and ceilings not well maintained. Another couple of examples. And I've seen much worse than this over the years. This is actually current and recent, can you believe it? Where floors are not well maintained. We got damages in walls and floors. And for those who don't know, that these are the areas where bacteria grow and hide. And not only bacteria and microorganisms, pests, okay? They like to hide and harbor in these kind of conditions. Flaking paint on ceilings and overheads. I'm sure you've seen them from your experiences and from your factories that you've been working in before. Mold as well, condensation, dripping. Yeah, the picture on the right is actually a picture of flaking paint that was really, really bad in a plant. And I can't obviously say the name of the plant, but yeah, it was directly over open product. And that was just one of the areas, that I've seen. There were so many areas that was looking really, really bad. Poor lubrication management is another issue that we normally find during audits. These guys normally think that, they should just grease and grease and grease and oil and grease. Yeah. And I say to the, you know what, some equipment need oil, some equipment needs grease to run, but it doesn't need too much. Okay. So it has to be controlled. And a lot of effort has been made up to now to ensure that we get better lubrication, like self-lubrication on equipment and things like that. But I think still a lot can be done to prevent lubrication getting into the product. Now, equipment and utensils sometimes look like this, sometimes worse. I've seen stuff looking really, really bad. For those who don't know, the picture on the right is a picture of a spray bowl that's in the beverage industry that's used, it's inside a tank, used for cleaning. And they thought it was 316 stainless steel, but it wasn't. And yeah, it started rusting because of the chlorine. The picture on the left is a strainer or a mash for sugar dissolving. Yeah, condition is really not good, and that's not what we want to see. Now, the point that's sometimes made at this stage, when we get to a plant, they say, don't worry, Mr. Charl, it's only the beginning. We have 20 more strainers down the line, Habibi, no worries. I said, no, 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 no. It doesn't work like that, okay? Those strainers that we have in place downstream, they are there for accidental contamination. But the way we work now, when we see these kind of things, it's surely not accidental anymore, okay? It looks like deliberate. So something we can fix, then we need to fix it up front, okay? Just because we have strainers downstream doesn't mean we can add anything up front into the system or into the process, okay? So we need to take always extra care how we start our process. Temporary repairs. I'm sure a lot of you guys and ladies have seen these kind of things and probably worse and more temporary repairs. There are some people, I say, there are some guys out in the world who have a PhD in temporary repairs. And just recently, I went to a plant and they said to me, they've got a couple of MacGyvers. So I don't know if you guys know who MacGyver is, but that was a popular series back in the day on TV with a guy that could, he could make and fix anything with some tape and so on. So yeah, temporary repairs not good. They tend to end up in the product. They tend to harbor bacteria and microorganisms and dirt. So yeah, for some reason, plants still today, they just love tape. They love tape, they love cartons, and they love to use them anywhere. Funny enough, I do see even in this day and age, people using cloths, cable ties, wires, all kinds of things. And I'm sure you have seen in your plants also a couple of things, right? Poor cleaning practices, guys. Now, the picture on the right is with my days at AIB when I was doing AIB inspections at facilities. I would write my name, I would write AIB in the dust or in the dirt and go back. And you know what? There was a couple of times I would go back a year later and still find AIB written there. So that says how bad some plants are, right? With the cleaning practices also comes cleaning equipment. And how many times have you guys seen poor cleaning equipment? Couple of years ago now, companies have started introducing plastic, okay, color-coded hard plastic cleaning equipment. There's a couple of companies that started it. They got really big and got really rich, and they upped the prices. And then people said, "Oh, this is too much." So they went to China and they started getting the Chinese versions, which is a lot cheaper, but tend to break also a lot quicker. So yeah, but even in today's age, we still get the old wooden brooms and straws being used for cleaning. So be careful of those when you see them. Now, if you look at the picture on the left, many people, when I ask them what do they see, they don't know. Uh, um, I'm almost certain there'll be one or two people on this call that probably won't know either, but most of you should know what that is. For those who don't know, I'm going to make it clear. It's a dead, decomposed rodent, a rat, a mouse that's on a glue board trapped. It started to decompose. Yeah, and it's there in the plant, stinking, smelling. The picture on the right is a bird, but if you look closely, you will see there's a lot of bird droppings coming down the walls, right? That says they are living there. They are happily living there. They've been there for a long, long time. Okay. Now, someone would ask me for the picture on the left, but Charles, the trap did its job. It caught the mouse. See, yeah, that's good. It did its job, but there should be an inspection program, right? Ideally, at least once a week to check these traps and make sure that whatever is caught in there is removed. Okay. And if you do find a mouse in there, you go and do root cause analysis, try to find out where does it come from. Okay. Is there any harbor site? Okay. Now, many more guys and ladies I can share with you, but I thought I'd just share some of the things that I've seen over the years. Like I said, I've got thousands and thousands of pictures, but I don't want to keep you up all night with all of that. Now, what does FSSC see in terms of certification audits? So this information comes from FSSC. The first couple of slides is related to version 5.1, which is the old version, but I put it in just to give you some bit of feedback. We're currently on version 6, if you don't know. But in version 5, the top 5 major nonconformities was number 1 related to CCPs and OPRPs. Number 2, control of monitoring and measuring. Number 3, internal audits not being conducted. 4, traceability system not functioning properly. And then 5, leadership and commitment. Now that says a lot, hey? That says a lot. In terms of the minor nonconformities on version 5.1, first one was food defense, food fraud, environmental monitoring, cleaning and disinfection, which we just spoke about now, as well as pest and animal control. So the TS, right? Pest control, or IPM as it's in other standards. So you can see in that those minors also tie in with the things that I've seen over the years, okay? But as I mentioned, this is for version 5.1. Now you're going to ask me, Charles, what did FSSC say about version 6? Now you must remember version 6 came out only in April this year. It's only applicable from April of this year. So if you are an FSSC facility, or if you aspire to go for FSSC, you will be audited against version 6. And this is currently what FSSC is finding. Poof. The top 50 nonconformities for version 6 is number 1, quality control. Can you believe that, guys? Quality control is the number 1 finding being made currently on FSSC audits for version 6. Number 2, physical contamination, right? Physical contamination, and that's where those inspections come into play. Number 3, food safety and quality control, culture, sorry, food safety and quality culture, which I kind of expected to be there because it's relatively new, and people still don't really understand it and still don't really know how to implement it. 4, traceability system. You would think by now, after many years of doing traceability that people would know how to do traceability, but yeah. 5, preventative and corrective maintenance. That's expected to be there. Number 6, food loss and waste. That is a new one. Okay, so that's a new one, new additional requirement. And obviously you're going to get findings there. Number 7, environmental monitoring. 8, management of allergens. 9, internal structures and fittings. Means the internal parts of your facility, how does it look? 10, control of monitoring and measuring. 11, competence and training. And you know what is the funny thing here, guys? When companies start to do cost cutting, what's the first thing they cut? Training. Halas, no more training for this year. Sorry, Mr. Charl. Sorry, Anas. No more training for you guys. That's the first thing. And then next year, boof, they get a finding on competence. Okay, Mr. Charl, you can come back now and give us training. So this is what really happens out there, guys. 12, equipment management, which I just showed you some nice examples as well. 13, storage of food. Yep, storage practices. Pest control and control of externally provided process and products. So you guys can see now that the findings that is currently found on an FSSC audit for version 6 ties in with what I've been seeing for the last almost 20 years conducting audits. So surely the question must be asked, what are we doing wrong? Right? Why are we not improving? But I leave that up for another day, just for thought, no? Food for thought. Now, if you look at quality control specifically, you will see there's a lot of findings on quality policy. So, and I couldn't believe this. I was asking FSSC, how is this possible? You know, you go to a food facility and surely they must have quality policy. Every plant should have a quality. That's like one of the basics of manufacturing, right? But yeah, findings on quality policy. If you look on the right, you'll see the line startups. Yep. So a lot of findings on line startups also. And it's just amazing that there's so many findings on an FSSC audit related to quality control in 2024. Amazing. Now, quick summary, guys, of what we discussed. GFSI and AIB certification does not guarantee food safety. Now, this is from my experience, okay? And I can put my head on a block that these guys will agree, okay? Certainly AIB agrees, and they do put it in their certificates that they do not guarantee food safety. And people must understand that. The difficult thing is that you guys on this call probably do, but the senior management, the top management, the CEOs and the MDs and whatever you call them these days, they probably don't know. They expect automatically that if they have a GFSI certification, that food safety is in place, but that's not always the case. The basics like GMPs are not well established. Good manufacturing practices. I showed you some pictures of what I've seen over the years, and it actually links up with what FSSC auditors are finding in this day and age. And a lot of it comes down to GMPs. Auditors can be biased and non-objective. Yes, that is very true. That is what I've seen over the years. I've talked to many, many plants all over the world. I've seen auditors with my own eyes. And yes, calibration is really, really important, guys. If you are from a certification body on this call, I would encourage you to make sure that your auditors are calibrated. Now, a bit of a challenge comes in when a CB uses contract auditors. And that auditor, works for a different couple of CBs. So he's used to doing things, for example, he's a SGS auditor. He's used to doing things the SGS way, but now he does things for Bureau Veritas, and Bureau Veritas does things on a different way. And then it goes to TUV, and they do things on a different way, and everybody has their own little way. And it's just human nature, you can get confused, and you can become non-objective. So it's really important that CBs do calibration. Many companies just want a certificate. I've said it, and I think most of you know it. But yeah, that's the honest truth. I've seen that. I've had CEOs telling me, Charl, can you just give us the certificate? Don't audit us. We'll take you out for dinner, Habibi. We'll give you nice food. Just give us the certificate tomorrow. Don't audit us more, please. Many companies make the quality manager solely responsible for food safety and quality. How many of your quality managers on this call that feel that burden, that feels overwhelmed? When things go wrong, it's the quality manager, right? And when things go right, it's everybody, right? I give you a quick story. It was 2009 was the year before the 2010 Football World Cup in South Africa. I don't know if you guys remember, but the World Cup was in Africa once in 2010 in South Africa with Waka Waka, the Shakira song. Now in 2009, there was a company, and I cannot mention the name, who ran a competition to see who's going to go to the World Cup in 2010, right? They ran it interdepartmentally. So in 2009, I got to the plant and they were all excited. They were so happy. The quality manager says to me, you know what, Charl, we feel like we're going to win this. And one of our guys is going to go to South Africa to see the World Cup in 2010. And I was also happy. I was like, wow, this facility is really good that they think to reward their employees like this. Guess what? In 2010, after the World Cup, I traveled back to that country, and I went to visit the plant. And the first thing I saw when I got there was the quality manager looking really, really down. And I asked him, what happened? Why are you so sad? Who went to World Cup? He says, you won't believe it. The sales director and his family was chosen to go to the World Cup in South Africa. And yeah, I just leave it at that. Many companies, yes, um, food safety culture. The phrase food safety culture was probably coined recently, but the aspects of culture has been always there in a food facility. And it's really, from my experience, guys, it's really difficult to maintain a good culture here in the Middle East, for example. Okay. Why? Because the culture of the factory is influenced by each individual culture of the person working there. Pardon. And in many companies, there's people working from different countries. Pardon. Sometimes 10 nationalities, sometimes more, you know. And if you go to, for example, a country like Korea, and you'll find most of the people in that plant is Korean. And they talk the same language, they have the same respect. Just say nobody questions, they understand. Okay. And that makes it a little bit more easier and a little bit more challenging in countries where you have a variety of different people. Not to say it cannot be done, it just means it's more challenging. And yes, I've said it, certification is big business, big business, guys. And I think if you be honest with yourself, you would see and you would say, and you would agree with me on that. There are hundreds, literally hundreds of certification bodies out there. They all want a piece of the pie. They all want business. And they're willing to do anything these days. Some of them compromise on their integrity. So be careful, choose wisely, okay? Choose wisely. All right. The second topic for tonight is future trends. So what are we looking for in terms of the future? I think most of you have heard about the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, which is being driven to transform and meet the 2030 agenda. They've implemented these goals into all the certification standards, and they really encourage facilities to try and reach to these goals. Okay, it touches on production, processing, distribution, retail, consumption, and waste recovery, and really to look at what technological innovations and scientific advances are there. You know, what other microbes, what other new food sources, what is the impact of climate change, and are you guys considering that? Okay, we had a big rain issue a couple of months ago in Dubai, and you know what, if those kind of things should come up more frequently, how would that impact food manufacturing? And then also consumer behavior and food consumption patterns, which are some of the drivers and trends that we see going forward. Now, the FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization of United Nations, they've made it very clear to the world that food safety is part of food security, public health, and trade. In simple, they say if it's not safe, it is not food. And I think most of you know that by now. So sometimes people would argue, how to, they still find it difficult how to implement food safety in these different categories: trade, public health, and food security. But yeah, it's all part of it. They also say we need to keep pace with the changing times. Okay. If you guys read there's a nice comment. It says, and now all the deli food is plant-based. And the guy asks, why? For the sake of our own health, for the sake of all the animals, for the sake of the well-being of the entire planet. Oh, that. He's like, so what? We know about that, but I want my piece of beef and I want my everything. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. But you are going to get people that's going to be talking like this butcher guy is talking now. Now, those new food sources was discussed at a technical meeting in 2023 last year. Things like edible insects, seaweed, plant-based alternatives, cell-based food production, jellyfish, as well as the food safety impact of these things was also covered, right? The microbiological hazards and the chemical hazards, especially allergens, as well as regulatory aspects. There's a lot of drive now towards this new kind of food sources. A lot of companies have started with plant-based alternatives for meat. And whether that is truly an alternative or whether it is more of a marketing strategy remains to be seen. But yeah, there's a lot of questions still being asked and a lot of work still being done on that. Now, from my point of view, allergens is one of the key things that still needs to have a lot more focus on. Okay. And this picture on the left, you see this little girl, you've probably seen it on the news, just only 13 years old, and she drank Costa coffee, hot chocolate, and she died. And the sad thing is that her mom made the staff aware of Costa that her daughter's got a dairy or a milk allergy, right? And she was under the impression it's going to be soya milk, it's no dairy, but in the meantime, yeah, there was dairy. So she died within hours. I mean, and she's just one of the recent examples, that is out there of so many kids, especially youngsters, that have died because people are either unaware of allergens or they just don't care, you know. I remember many years ago, I used to go to plants in Africa. And when I talked about allergens, I do a special course on allergens also, guys. So separate training, 1 day training on allergens. So I told them about allergens, and they were shocked to know that besides this 9 that you see now, which by the way is the new big 9 of the FDA, that there's 14 in Europe. And they would be like, really, sir? So many allergens. I mean, it's unbelievable. And but it's not applicable here in Africa. So our people are dying of AIDS and are dying of cancer and all other things. So they got a lot of other things to worry about. So yeah, you do get those situations where people are just either they don't care or they're not worried about allergens at all. Um, okay, let's move on. Technological innovations. So a lot of things is happening here as well. Okay, we have packaging, 3D printing, AI, a lot of things happening that is going to change the landscape of food safety and of auditing. So the question is always asked, what is the future of food safety auditing look like? Are we going to go from the traditional ways to the new AI type of auditing or not? Now, there was this food safety think tank, future food safety think tank that came together, some professionals from around the world, and they did a SWOT analysis to make sure that how they can make audits more easier, and they've done some research basically on it, and you're more than welcome to read up a bit more about this. Whether their work will be implemented by GFSI remains to be seen, but let's see. Okay, so in summary, guys, I think there'll be more use of digital and AI technology in auditing, but not necessarily a global trend. And the reason I say that is because we still have challenges in developing countries, with having good internet access and things like that. So it's not so easy. There'll definitely be more focus on food packaging, especially with regards to plastic and waste management, and more focus on allergens and micro is needed. And don't forget the basics, okay? GMP and HACCP is really important. People overlook that, and they just want certificate, and then we get those kind of issues. Quickly on the global insights, I think most of you know that there's a couple of GFSI schemes, of which FSSC and BRC is on the top of these schemes. And you can see there globally the number of certification bodies that provides these certifications. Quite a lot, like I told you, more than 100. The number of certified sites globally and also in UAE and KSA, Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar. These figures change obviously on a daily basis as new sites are being added, okay? But you can see there quite a lot of sites, 36,000 plus for FSSC and about 159 in the UAE and so on. Now, for about a study was done on 11 countries, mostly European and also India. And you can see there, Italy came up as the country with the most accreditation, where there's more accreditation in Italy, in Spain and Germany also. And you can see there's a nice graph that I share with you guys, where you can see Italy's got about over 7,000 certified sites, Spain over 6,000, Germany also over 6,000, and on the far right, India with about 2,500. Now, how does it look for Africa? If there's anybody from African countries on this call, you can see the different types of standards, IFS, BRC, and FSSC. But please take note, this was from 2021. Currently, South Africa have just over 1,000 FSSC certifications and is the #1 country regarding African country regarding FSSC, followed by Ethiopia, Kenya, Egypt, and these countries.
And Sudan as
So,
well.
and Sudan also. There's a lot that you can see there. If you look at it, you can see a lot of gray areas, right? And the numbers, if you look at the numbers also, so there's still a lot more that can be done, you know, a lot more sites. I mean, for example, Nigeria, Ghana, and those places, they've got a lot of facilities still not certified. Okay, in summary, guys, we know that Europe and US is driving food safety certification. They're leading it, and it's really important that the work that they're doing regarding food safety. Some of the main schemes I mentioned to you already, and then Africa definitely has a big potential for certification in terms of food safety. And currently, the main countries is South Africa, Egypt, and Kenya leading those certifications, right? But what I want to say is that those companies in Europe and US is not necessarily better than other countries. Okay. I've been to those countries, I've seen them, and you'll be shocked that many of them are not as good as some of the companies we've seen here in the Middle East. Last but not least, guys and girls, audit best practices. So I've broken it down into two sections as an auditor. And if you are an auditor on this, you probably know this by now. One of the first things I would say is be prepared. Okay, you have to be prepared before going into an audit. You must have the required knowledge and skills for that specific type of scope that you're auditing against. You can use applicable tools, you know, if it's allowed by the company, use it. It's to your advantage. Now, auditor conduct is very, very important. How you behave, how you interact, that says a lot. Okay. So be professional. Don't come with attitudes. I mean, there's still today auditors that think they are above the standards and the regulations. But that's not the case. It shouldn't be like that. You should be impartial, ethical, but yet, as an auditor, you should build relationships. That's really, really important. And there's a fine line between that, you know? So it's very difficult. If you can't do that, better not be an auditor. Be open-minded. That's also critical. We all don't know everything, right? And then there's also the thing about perception, which I opened up this webinar on. 5 plus 2 is 7, but so is 3 plus 4. You know, some of you saw a guy playing saxophone. Some of you saw a lady's face, you know. So as an auditor, you need to be open-minded. You can't expect all the procedures and everything must be the same way as you saw in another plant. Now, you can refer to ISO 17021, okay? And you can find all these kind of attributes listed in there. But these are some of the things that I thought is really, really important to keep in mind. I find this slide on LinkedIn, and I thought it was really funny and cool. The inside the brain of a quality manager. And you will see there on the right, it says coffee extra strong. So yeah, you get oil quality managers just always running around and thinking about what to do and how to do things, right? Okay, couple of examples of some best practice that I've seen related to storage practices, you know, keeping things away from the wall, having a wide perimeter so it's easy to see if there's any pest activity and things like that. Storing products on nice on pallets, and keeping distance, clean storage areas, the facilities, covering your lines properly, having enough lighting, okay? If you use glass, have a glass sharp station like this, and use dedicated equipment to clean up the glass if it breaks. Some cleaning equipment, color coding, like I mentioned, you know, earlier on. Maintain your cleaning equipment as well as things like filters, air filters. And then if you look at this picture, you see the inside of a beverage facility. soft drinks, and the one on the right, you would think that's probably in America, right? Or somewhere fancy, but no, it's in Africa, and that's why I say it doesn't mean because it's America that all the plants are better. We've got really, really good plants in Africa itself. Similarly, like this is also in Africa. They keep the doors closed, so no pest can come in. They've got the traps, the floors are clean, and it looks really, really good. Some good practices in terms of PPE. The picture on the left, you can see that's myself in a baby food company. So obviously there's more stricter measures. But yeah, how does your facility look in terms of hand washing stations, right? That's a question I want to leave with you also on that. Another couple of good practices, incoming tankers, floors, those areas, workshops. How does your workshop look? And then the picture on the middle, you can see that's also part of a workshop. They've actually labeled nicely the cabinets, safety first. The picture on the right is a picture of a shoe cover applicator, automatic applicator. That's really cool. And for those type of facilities, obviously, not every facility you need to wear these kind of things. And then last but not least, the outside, okay? Many facilities, if you come there, just from entering the site, you can see so many things wrong. So this is an example of what it should look like. Okay. And as again, many, many more pictures I can share with you, but we don't have that much time left. All right. I always get asked, what's the secret, Charl, to passing an audit or to have a good audit? For me, it's effective teamwork. Not only teamwork, but effective teamwork. Why do I say that? Because in many companies, there are teams, right? There's a quality department, production, engineering and maintenance, safety and all, but they don't always work together, right? They work together, but not quite together. If they can burn you, they'll burn you. They can stab you in the back, they will stab you in the back. So the secret is to have good, effective teamwork, right? And look at this picture. They're all a team, but they didn't build the railway properly. So I thank you, and thank you for your time. And again, thank you to Mr. Anas for his opportunity to share some insights with you and some experiences. And you're more than welcome to contact me for any training, consulting, or any gap audits also if you want me to come and do that for you, if you're in the need for that. That's my contact details, and I'm sure Anas will share this also with you guys. And then last but not least, if you do have your phone with you, I will encourage you to please scan this and do follow us on LinkedIn, please.
Thank you
Thank you. Anas?
thank you so much, Mr. Charles, for that insight and comprehensive presentation. Actually, your deep expertise and years of experience in the food and safety and auditing have provided us with the valuable knowledge and practical takeaway. I am sure our audience gain a lot of from your perspective on maintaining and improving safety standard in the food and beverage industry. Your guidance on compliance and quality control is truly invaluable. So before ending the sessions with over 20 years of experience as the lead auditor, could you share with us one of the most unforgettable or challenging audit you have conducted?
One of the most challenging ones.
Unforgettable one.
Unforgettable one.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of unforgettable ones in terms of how bad they were. But one of the interesting ones, I would say, is I uh, uh, I went to South Korea, and before we started the audit, the quality team would come together and they would do some Tai Chi exercises, you know, this breathing in and breathing out and, and stretching and everything for 15 minutes every day in the morning. They would do that. And then they would come together and they would, almost like a quality circle. And then they would go and start their day. And that was quite interesting for me to see. Something else to note also, Anas, is that one of the plants in Africa, and I can say this, one of the Pepsi plants in Africa, couple of years ago, scored one of the highest scores, on their system that they have. And Pepsi was shocked. I mean, everybody was shocked. How can this plant in Awassa, in the south of Ethiopia, be so good, and it basically boiled down to doing the simple things, the basics right, labeling a bottle, or labeling a container, cleaning properly, having everything in its place. And there was a unwritten rule actually that I've picked up over the years. Um, when you humble yourself and you are willing to learn and willing to improve, then you will improve. I went to many plants in America and they have big attitudes, and they go like, who are you to come and audit us from South Africa, blah, blah, blah. And then I fail them and they go like, what is this, So yeah, sometimes they just need a bit of humble pie.
Yeah.
Somebody has their hand up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charl. And now it is a part for the audience questions. Please, guys, if anyone have any questions, just raise your hand, and we are gonna allow you to talk and ask your question directly to Mr. Charl.
Yeah. How do I unmute?
No, is there anyone? Yes, I can
Yes.
open the mic.
Yeah, I'll open the mic for Fatima.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and this huge information. Actually, my question is, I'm working at VOC certificate or inspection party. I'm inspection party, working at the inspection company. My question, in Africa, there is many quality programs about food or export food from other country. But this is knowledge is not applicable or not understanding for many export and import around the world. So I'm looking for how can improve my knowledge and in the program of quality or something like that by this certificate or their college or any place can improve with my knowledge.
Okay. What knowledge do you currently have? What qualifications do you currently have?
Yeah. I'm looking for how can I improve my knowledge in VOC or the programs, Africa program about quality. Like for example, Nigeria have a program for safety or for food. This is not there is no one knows that. Then wanted to export something to Nigeria or something like that.
No.
So if any place or any community gathering this information.
Can we have a chat after this,
No.
Fatima?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, he is asking
I'll
Mr.
share
Fatima,
my
yeah,
email
about
address with you.
what is your background? What is your qualifications?
Me?
Yeah.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm my background. I'm biological science. I'm a molecular biologist.
Okay. Okay, Fatima, can you drop me an email? I just put my email in the chat.
Okay, okay. I will.
I'll communicate with you further on this afterwards.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Any other questions? If not, then I would like again say thank you very much. We've got a
Just
lot of
wait.
participants.
Some people is coming. So,
Ah,
any more questions? شباب أي سؤال أو استفسار حتى ولو بالعربي؟
mhm.
ها عليا.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. آه
سلام، يا سؤال استفسار بس. التخزين كم يبعد عن الارتداد أو الحائط؟ يعني أنا عندي ماتيريال يبعد كم متر أو يكون من الحائط أو الارتداد؟
شو الماتيريال هذه؟
هذه ماتيريال ريسيكل، إعادة تدوير يعني، مي كيميكال، ليس
Yeah,
كيميكال.
yeah, we have a question. He's asking how far should be the materials away from the wall.
Very good question. Very good question. So in the old days, it used to be 45, 50 centimeters. But nowadays the requirement is sufficiently. So it means if you can pass through, then it should be like that. You
And also, I
understand?
think it is depend on the material, right?
Yeah, because the thing is, not everybody is also the same size, no? Some people are more bigger, some are more narrow, you know. So yeah, if you can walk around in a store, okay, again from the wall to the pallet, you can walk around, inspect and check and clean. That is fine.
Okay, all right. Miss Alia, you can go ahead.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. First, I want to thank you for the informational session. It was great. I really appreciate it. So I do have one question. I know you said that for audit, the best thing to take away, you have to be humble and the teamwork. And I want to see like more insight. What do you say for an auditor who is to start in the fields beside those two things? What I can have to be a great auditor? So I'm interested more in auditing.
Okay, you're interested in auditing. So let me just understand your question correctly. You are asking what you can do to become a better auditor.
Yes.
Are you currently an auditor?
Beside the 2 point, but beside the 2 points you just mentioned, humbling, and you have to work as a team player with the team.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see my screen. Oh, here we go. Can you see my screen?
No.
No, I cannot see your screen.
Do you remember the slide I showed about the auditor to be prepared and the auditor conduct, right? About professionalism.
Oh, sorry, because I joined the lecture late. That's why I was like, okay, I want to recall on that. Sorry for that.
Okay. Well, I think Anas, we can share this slide with her, right?
Yeah. Even the
I can take it offline in the group because it's gonna take time, and I know.
No, that's fine. I mean, just if to be a good auditor, it's besides the thing to be humble and all of that. You can be detailed, right? You can be detailed, and you need to find a way to get the auditee to trust you to share the information with you. Okay, because when you go to a plant, what the rule from the auditee side is, don't share information to the auditor without asking, right? So the auditee or the site, they try to hide things from you. So your job as an auditor is to get them to share the information with you without them feeling that they're going to be impacted negatively. You understand? Because the role of an audit, the function of the audit is to help the facility to improve at the end of the day. Now, if they start hiding information from you, or they see you've got an attitude or anything like that, they're going to hide things from you, and then nobody's going to improve. So I would say work with your auditees, be friendly, be kind, don't have negative attitude, and make them understand why you are there and what is the purpose of you being there. Okay?
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Abdullah.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thank you for this informative session. I want to ask about, I listen about three party of audits. What are they? And the second party of I listen about third party. What are the third party of audit?
Third-party audits.
Yeah.
Third-party
And
audits.
second question, as a quality assurance engineer, what my significant role to success in audit process, and what the CABA? I listen about CABA or corrective action, protective action. What are the CABA? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Just to get back, your first part of your question, you want to know about third-party audits, right? So basically, third-party audit. Yeah, basically, third-party audits is those audits being conducted by the third party, by like SGS or TUV or whatever certification body you are using, right? So they will conduct a certification audit, and that is considered a third-party audit. Clear?
Mr. Charl, can you give us a little bit introduction? What is the difference between accreditation body and certification body?
Okay, so it starts with accreditation body, right? So the accreditation body gives the approval to the certification body to do the certification audit on you as the company, right? So, for example, you get an audit from, let's make an example, Intertech, right? So Intertech is the certification body, but Intertech needs to be approved by an accreditation body, which can be, for example, IAC or GAC or EJACT in Egypt or whatever. Each country have some kind of accreditation bodies.
And most of them, they are government bodies, right?
Yes, most of them are government bodies, yeah. You do get a few private ones as well, but they have to be approved by IAF. Okay? So this is basically the structure. So a third-party audit is one of those certification audits, right? Internal audit is what you do. Okay? When you do inside, you do an audit like they would do. So you do it inside, and that is considered an internal audit. And then supplier audit is when you go and do your supplier audit. A second party audit is, for example, where I come as a consultant and I come and do the audit before the certification body comes.
Okay, and first stage audit?
Yes. Yes, that is what I just explained now. The internal audit, right? That's the first audit that you do on yourself.
It is the first stage audit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then the second party audit is like me come and do an audit for you.
As a
right?
consultant.
As a consultant. And then third party audit is when
certification body.
Certification body when they come and do an audit. And then second part of your question, I think you said you wanted some advice on how to improve, right?
Yeah, as quality assurance.
As quality assurance.
What are my significant role and what is CAPA?
CAPA, yes. Corrective action, preventative action, right? So you need, as quality manager, obviously, you've got a lot of functions, by the way. You've got a lot of things to do. And your role is very important. I was quality manager before I became an international auditor. So it's a lot of work to do, you know. I would say to improve on those things is don't focus too much on the kappa itself, right? Focus more on the root cause, okay? It's really important because many times we do a kappa quickly. We say, okay, we found a solution, you know, and basically we just put a plaster on, you know, or we just put a little bit of paint on, you know. But if you go and you find the actual root cause and you fix that, then you won't have to worry again. I have an acronym. I call it 5E, right? Not 5O, 5E. Fix it forever, right? Fix it forever. And as the guys can do that, you will have a much better experience in terms of handling kappas.
Thank you so much.
I
Let's
hope
go.
I answered you well enough, but you're more than welcome to email me with more questions afterwards, Abdullah.
Okay, all right. Miss Ula, Mustafa, go ahead.
Anas, you are controlling who answers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello,
Yeah,
could
go
you hear
ahead.
me?
Yeah.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Marks, for the very informative presentation. Uh, my name is Ula, I'm food safety specialist, FSSC, lead auditor V6. My question from your experience, Dr. Mark, about the food safety culture. I see a lot of problem in this, how to promote for food safety culture. In the food establishment, they have a lot of workers from multicultural, different language, different religions, different backgrounds. How can I promote for food safety culture in this food establishment?
Thank you, Ola. It's Ola, right?
Yeah, Ula.
Ola, thank you
Yes,
very
Dr.
Thank you very much for your question. It's a very good question. There's no one way. There's no one solution, you know, to fix all for food safety culture. What I have seen in some countries and some plants is and I always encourage plants or food establishments, I always encourage them to keep things simple. Keep things simple and easy. Don't overcomplicate things. Many plants or many people want to make a big procedure and elaborate too much and overcomplicate things. And then the poor guy that works on the floor, he doesn't even understand what you are talking about. Okay. So some plants, what they do is they take their objectives, okay, or they take their strategy and they simplify it into like an acronym, you know. There is this one plant, for example, that just comes to my mind now. There's a plant in Uganda, and they've got this nice word called kapochi, you know, and I've asked them, what is this? And they say, no, this is kapochi. This is our culture. This is what we live by. And huh, really? What is it? So each letter of kapochi stands for something, right? It means something. And everyone tries to use their strategy to drive it down to the people on the floor and for everybody to have an idea of what food safety and culture is all about. So that's their way of. So when you come to the plant, you will see big signage outside at the gate, at security. You will see on the outside of the building even. You'll see it in the canteen. You will see it everywhere. You will see it being played on TVs. Kapochi, kapochi, kapochi. At first, I thought it was a porridge, the way they pronounce it, you know. And I thought, you guys all eat kapochi, and they laughed. They said, yes, we literally live, sleep, and eat kapochi. So that's an example I wanted to share with you, Ola.
Okay, thanks.
I hope it helps. Good.
Thank you.
Anas?
One question, Miss Hadia. Now we have all ladies. Where is the gentleman? We cannot see anyone.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Yeah. Good evening and thank you for that or the information. My name is Hadia. My background biochemistry and food science. I have three questions. The first, what are the common challenges faced by auditors, and how can they be overcome? And the second question, how does auditing impact financial decision making with the company? And what the importance of compliance with the international standards in the auditing process? And the final, how that's all. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you again.
Thank you very much, my dear, for your questions. I am going to ask you just to repeat question 2 and 3. Okay, I'm going to try and answer them one by one. I'm not writing down anything. So your first question, can you just repeat that so I can answer that one?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And the first, what are common challenges faced by auditors, and how can they be overcome? Yeah, because the auditors face more challenges in the company. So how? Yeah.
Yes, there are various challenges, obviously, right? There's challenges coming from the CB itself or the company that they work for. Okay, so for example, they need to travel, and then the CB haven't arranged the travel properly, and so that becomes a stressful operation, and that can be very challenging at some times. And there is challenges also from the plant, from the site itself. Those kind of challenges could be the plant. Anas, there's somebody talking.
Yeah.
Oh. So those challenges sometimes can be that the site is not willing to share information, right? Easily, quickly. They do delaying tactics, they try to, slow it down and delay and saying, oh, somebody will bring this and so on, and it doesn't come. And for that, for example, that one, I always first tell them, guys, we need to get the information quickly. If I don't get the information quickly, there will be consequences. Okay. So you as an auditor then have to step up a little bit, and become a little bit more serious, and but in a nice way, you don't have to be rude. Okay. You can say in a nice way. You can say, guys, I'm sorry, you took too long, so you'll have a non-conformance now. The moment they hear non-conformance, they will start to act. They will start to run around. So that's one of the things. Another challenge sometimes can be with language barriers. So auditor, for example, myself, one of the most difficult auditors was that one I talked about now in Korea. I went there and everybody speaks Korean. And the only guy that spoke English was the representative from Pepsi. But his English was not good at all. It was very, very slow. So, for example, I would ask them, can you ask the quality manager if they have a cleaning procedure? Then he looks at the quality manager and says, "Chaka, chaka, 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 ching, chong, chong, chong." The quality manager talk back to him, "Changa, changa, 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 changa," and they talk over the changa, changa, and after 5 minutes he comes back.
Communication.
It was, at the time it's frustrating, but afterward it was very, very funny. And yeah, so it took a long time to get the document, but yeah, it's one of those things, that you have to.
Did they pass the audit?
No, unfortunately not. Yeah. They have a lot of good, but at the time they didn't pass. Yeah. Okay. Your second question.
Yeah, second question, how does auditing impact financial decision making with the company?
Ooh, very good question.
Yeah.
Very good question. You know, and that question I can't answer for any specific company because each company has their own, financial decisions. But in terms of impacting, I always say, for example, if I use an AIB audit, for example, right, which is an inspection more, and we find a lot of things like the floors are not good, the walls are not good, and company has to now budget, okay, and spend money to fix those things. So I always say to them, you know what, you have to start somewhere. Sometimes what these guys do is they see the bigger picture. They say, oh, we need to spend 2 million dirhams, for example. We can't spend that, too much money. But if you start spending 5,000 here, fixing this, 2,000 here, fixing that, 3,000 there, over time, you would have fixed everything, right? And then it doesn't look too much of a burden. But yes, companies need to know that their own condition of the plant, they need to know that they need to have to spend money at the end of the day. But the thing that I always tell them is it's not rocket science. We're not trying to send someone to the moon. We're not Elon Musk, we don't ask for billions like that. So you just need to do the basics right. If you have the basics right in terms of your GMPs, the other things are fairly easy. Other things, documentation is easy. You don't need thousands and thousands for that. But you have to budget for audits.
Thank you. So just let's go for Mr. Umar. I think this would be the last question. Go ahead.
Everybody, assalamu alaikum. How are you? Thank you for this information. My question what the future of auditing, because we see some and more than companies get some certificate and get some ISO like example certificate, but in if you see the companies, you see some wrong, cannot take this certificate after this audit because some people pay this certificate.
A very good observation, Omar. I think I mentioned that also during my presentation.
Big business.
That yes,
sorry,
big
because
business.
I come late.
Okay. So yeah, it's challenging. I can tell you this. This is a very challenging point for the scheme owners. The scheme owners means FSSC and BRC and these guys, right? They do have integrity programs in place where they try to control the CBs, right? But the CBs themselves, they need to control the auditors, right? And remember now, the CBs, like I told you before, oh, sorry, you came late. The CBs is out to make business. So there's a fine line. There's a fine line between making business, but also being ethical, And this is in the standards, actually. If you go read the ISO standards, it is in the standards. But the problem is ISO standards, like I said, there's no integrity program. So any CB can give a certificate just like that. In fact, you can say yourself that you are ISO certified. You can make a statement by that without having any CB come to your site. And that is the challenge, there are many bad auditors out there, unfortunately, trying to make a living. And then whilst trying to make a living, they compromise on their principles and their values and their integrity. And that's the reality. That's the challenge that the CB sit with, and the challenge that FSSC and these guys sit with. And they try to put things in place to zoom in on these kind of activities, but it's not going to change overnight, for sure. It's not going to change overnight. Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we have done a good presentation. Thank you again, Mr. Charles, for your time.
سؤال لو تكرمت. للأسف جينا متأخرين شوية، لكن أحاول لغايته جمعنا شوية مع الشباب. أنا بستفسر، داير أعرف كفاءة النظام المتبعه. إذا أنا متبع نظام الحسب، كيف أعرف إني أنا مطبقه، الكفاءة بتاعته بتاع تطبيقه كإنترنال أوديت.
Anas, please translate.
Yeah, he is asking how can I know that, for example, I am implementing the HACCP. He's asking about the effectiveness of the system from the internal audit perspective.
Well, if you do the internal audit properly and you follow the standard requirements, it will lead you to that conclusion, actually. So you need to obviously review your system, right? You need to check when you do your internal audit, check, is the things being followed? Do you have your policies in place? Is your document system up to date? Is your corrective actions being done, and followed up? Those kind of things. So if you see that there are gaps and things are taking long or taking some time, or this is not done or that is not done, then you can see now there's still room for improvement. But the thing is, you need to do and sometimes it's challenging. It's very challenging sometimes for facilities to do the internal audit properly. And that's why it's a good idea sometimes to use someone like me or somebody else to come and be objective, come with fresh eyes and see the system, because sometimes we get blinkers, and we think everything is okay. And also it gets challenging if you as a quality manager go and then the maintenance guy will challenge and say, no, this is not needed, this is not, or this guy says, no, halas, we're not going to do this, no problem, yani everything is just no problem, okay. We can't live like that. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Clear.
أيوة.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, تفضل
Yes.
our colleague from Expert Training Center.
Good evening, Mr. Anna. Thank you for this nice opportunity. I would like just to, I think that the last
Who's
participant was
talking?
asking
Engineer
about,
Abu Bakr?
this is Engineer Omar.
Yeah, Omar.
Yes. So I think the last participant was asking about how to measure the effectiveness of applying a specific system, not the effectiveness, the efficiency. How do I evaluate whether this system? Yeah, exactly. So his question was very good. I would like to hear the question, the answer for that. How would we measure the efficiency of applied system if we chose to go for HACCP, and we give it a time like 2 years, let's say. So after that, whether we are going to move to a new system, but after reviewing what we have applied or not, we need to measure the efficiency of what we have applied. That is the question he asked, and I'd like to receive an answer for that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Omar, thank you. No, sorry, I didn't. So, okay, I get you now. That is internal audit. Okay. So how to understand if your system is effective or efficient is you need to do proper internal audit. If your internal audit will tell you if your system is effective or not.
Yeah, same answer, right?
Yeah, same answer, but it's maybe not understood properly. So I just want to be clear that you understand, because the internal audit system was designed to measure the effectiveness of your system. If you go to the standards, you will actually see that. And then with that, management reviews. Okay. So if you're not doing internal audits properly, if you're not doing management reviews properly, you're not going to understand if your system is effective or not. Because once you go as a quality manager or the food safety manager or whatever your title is, once you go to the management review, you have to present, is your system effective or not, in the management review to management. That is a requirement of the standard.
Yeah, even I
So,
see from the beginning, if you don't know exactly which standard you are going to implement, how you are going to measure the effectiveness, right?
Yeah, that's clear now. Thank you very much.
Aywa. Okay, someone asked, Mustafa asked in the chat, can we have a word for those who look to be auditors in general? How to be an auditor? Is there any specific exams? Yes, certificates you can advise. Yeah, look, firstly, I would advise you to ask yourself first, do I want to be an auditor? Okay. Many guys go and think that it's the perfect job and all of that. No, it's certainly not. You yourself have to have those characteristics which I explained during the presentation. Okay. And if you don't have those characteristics or you're struggling with them, then it's not going to be beneficial for you. So let's say you agree, you say, okay, no, I have those characteristics. I feel I will make a good auditor one day, and all in all. Then you start by doing courses, okay? You do internal audit courses, you do lead auditor course, and you start doing the work of an auditor, doing internal audits, doing supplier audits and things like that. Then if you want to move out of your company and you want to join a certification body, then you're more than welcome to do that. And then they will obviously verify your scopes, right? Verify your qualifications, your experiences, and then they will determine which scopes you have and in which scopes can you audit. Back in the day when I wanted to be an auditor in South Africa, it was during apartheid. It was very difficult. And the requirement was you should have minimum of 5 years in a scope. And you must have minimum 2 scopes before you can apply. That means you must have at least 10 years experience in 2 different factories or 2 different types of fields, right? And then you can apply. And that was the rule at that time. Now it's different. I see even people coming fresh from university and they are auditors. I don't know where they got experience from, but Yani, that's another topic for another day. Good. Pleasure.
Thank you for answering my question. I am Mustafa. I am asking this specific question because now we have this dilemma. Graduates or other even experienced people want to be auditors, but they are not finding the right way. Some even, I have friends who have the ISO 9001 and the other certificates, but they cannot get jobs because they don't have the experience in auditing. So what is the right track for a professional to have a career in the auditing and also have the mindset and experience? Thank you very much for your...
Pleasure, my friend. Look, I would suggest if somebody wants to be auditor, like you say, first make sure
Hello, Mr. Charl, you are mute, but please make yourself unmute.
Unmute.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. You mute us. Maybe by mistake. Anyway, to answer you, my friend, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, very good. To answer you, I would say the advice that I would give is tell those people to first get industry experience, right? If he works for 2-3 years in a company, get experience in that, and not only the work, it must be a relevant work experience. So you must work in a quality food safety environment, okay? And then try to do supplier audits, try to do internal audits within the company that you work for. So when you do apply to a CB, then you can state, I've worked for 5 years for this company. I've done so many supplier audits. I've done so many internal audits, and so on and so on. And I know the process and everything. So I'm well versed. I can apply for an auditor to go and audit this type of facilities. But yeah, other than that, it's not advisable also for somebody who's just come from university to think that he can be an auditor. I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charl, and thank you all of you for your attendance and your patience. And we hope that uh, the webinar was very satisfied and you got information you were looking for. Thank you again, Mr. Charl, and we hope to see you in the future in upcoming webinars. Thank you so much, and شكرا لكم الجميع على الحضور. نتمنى نشوفكم في ويبينارات ومحاضرات قادمة مقدمة من مركز سيرتيفاي. شكرا لكم. ما تنسوا تتابعونا على صفحاتنا في مواقع التواصل الاجتماعي عشان يصلكم كل جديد من المركز. شكرا لكم وإلى اللقاء. شكرا، يعطيك العافية مستر تشار.
Shukran, take love for everybody. And yeah, if you have any other further questions, guys, feel free to send me an email. I'll try to answer as best as I can. Okay, all the best.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Anas, for your time also.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Rita. Appreciate it.